Hi, I'm Samwich and I don't know what I'm doing, so buckle up. Last week I introduced my project and gave a little insight about my personal grappling with existential questions and how this project is basically transmuting those fears into the art itself. What I've been realizing this week is that my presentation of that idea, the way I described it, and the meaning that I was giving the art is actually a lot heavier, a lot more weighty than I meant for it to be. I started making cartoons and this type of art as an expression, yes, of those fears and things that I wanted to transmute that felt sort of trapped and stuck inside of myself, but I always wanted it to be a presentation of those things in a way that was sort of lighthearted and silly. And I feel that in trying to explain that message, it came across a lot more serious and heavy than I meant for it to. So I was kind of reflecting on the types of cartoons and art that have really inspired me to make this type of thing, and I was thinking about the cartoon The Far Side by Gary Larson. That's been really inspirational to me because it does have a message and it is quite silly and funny, and I think I got a little hung up on thinking that my message of sort of taking my feelings and putting them into this type of art wasn't going to be serious or important enough, and I think that's what made me try and overcomplicate it. Like, I was making it so convoluted because I wanted it to feel important and I wanted it to seem to other people like it was important too, but upon reflecting on Gary Larson's work, that's very important and meaningful to me, and it's quite silly, so mine doesn't have to be as heavy as I've made it, and I think I just kind of got those two things confused and I made it way too serious. And I think this is something that I've got hung up on a lot, in that trying to make cartoons, I worry that my art isn't serious enough and so it won't be taken seriously, even when I feel very serious about it and I'm taking it seriously. It's hard to make cartoons and make them funny and also feel like it's serious to me. So I'm having trouble finding the balance, but I think I'm trying to get back on the right track by sort of breaking down this wall that I've built. I've sort of had backed myself into a corner, made things way too serious, and now I'm like, you know what? We're bringing the silly back. It's gonna be funny again. So I'm still gonna try to express these ideas and make it a little bit lighter, make it a little bit more taking the burden off of how heavy things can be, making it light again. So all that being said, I am excited to talk about this week's piece. I based it on a saying that I like, that's perception is a reflection, and I created it by doing first the watercolor background. I tried a couple of different techniques this time by, instead of just doing the flat orange and red color in the sort of amorphous blobs that I like to do, I decided to try doing a little bit of watercolor technique. I'm not a watercolor professional, clearly, but I took some much lighter and then some thicker variations of the watercolor to basically add variance throughout the blobs to make it a little more interesting. And then I let it dry. Last week I decided to, after I'd peeled the masking tape off of the border, I had decided to paint where the border was as well. This time I decided that it looked a little bit too busy for my liking, painted on the outside as well, so I left it blank and I drew with a gel ink pen on my sketchbook paper, cut out the shapes and glued them onto the watercolor background, and I just decorated the border with the ink pen as well. For the design, I have the blobs, of course, and then for the bird, I have a bird standing facing a mirror of himself, and there's a speech bubble that says, "I am so casual and laid back," and that's something that is on a pencil case that I have, and I really like that phrase because I, as I'm sure you can tell by now, am not naturally very casual or laid back, but I really want to be. And so I made this piece where the bird is looking in the mirror telling himself, "I am so casual and laid back," and in the mirror he is that way, and in the reality he's sweating. He clearly looks nervous and not casual and laid back, and you know, he's sort of saying this to himself as a sort of affirmation, but it's just his first day, so he's not quite there yet, but after a while his brain will get used to it and he will become casual and laid back. So after he looks at himself in the mirror and he says, "I am so casual and laid back," he's just gonna go bask in the sunlight and take it easy. And I hope to do that as well. If you want to see this piece up a little closer and read some more about it, then you can check out my Instagram, or you can go and subscribe to my newsletter where I've done some more writing in detail about my thoughts and my process. You can check those two things out. I will have them linked in the description so that they're easy to find. But if not, as always, thank you so much for watching, and thank you for seeing my art. Until next time.